Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hey, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. I'm your host, Joe Slepsky. And that was Jay Flex and the Heart Attacks that you just heard with our new-ish opening theme song. We love it so much. And this week, I've got a very special episode that I'm really excited about because it's yet another episode where one of our fans is joining me remotely. Today, we've got a gentleman by the name of Will Bell coming to us from Freeport, Maine. Hey, Will, welcome aboard the Joe on Joe train.
Okay, guys, back up the bridge layer. Yep, nope, stop, no, right there. Oh, hey, Joe.
Hey, Will. Will comes with his own bridge layer. He used it to cross the country. I hope that the crevasse that you covered was just wide enough for the bridge layer to cover and not too big.
Oh, it was perfect.
I always I was just want one Cobra engineer to just say, hey, wait a minute. They can only go about 60 feet. Maybe we should make our moats 70 feet.
Cobra engineering. I don't think it's that good.
I just want it one time. So, Will, Thank you so much. Will reached out to me. And you are a VA medical center nurse out of Freeport, Maine. Is that correct?
Correct. That's correct.
Fantastic, man. And thank you for your service because you served in the Navy.
Not a problem. Thank you, Joe.
Well, so tell me about what does being a nurse at a VA entail, and tell me about your service in the Navy. I believe you might be one of our first official military guests on a show about the military.
Oh, well, awesome. Well, working at the VA Medical Center, I work in an endoscopy suite, so we do endoscopic procedures like colonoscopies and all that good stuff that everybody loves to do. Work with 100% vets as patients and probably about 70% vets as fellow coworkers. Been loving it. It's a great place to work, great people. Before that, I enlisted in the Navy in 1999. Decided, hey, I wasn't really ready for college. Did that, got some the much needed, quote unquote, discipline you needed. Then I realized while in there, I wasn't content just being a regular Navy corpsman. I wanted to be the best of the best. So I tried out for the Marine Force Reconnaissance, the Special Forces branch of the Marine Corps.
That's so cool.
It's a physical tryout. It's also mental. And I got accepted to that and trained with that and did 4.5 years with them.
Well, sincerely, thank you very much for your service, because that, based on the timeline, that would have probably been a rough 4.5 years. You were going through all that, right?
I was in. We landed in Afghanistan in late September of 2001. We were advanced party with a couple of SEAL teams and a Delta team, and spent 6 months there, and then came back, and then did what they call Mediterranean floats. We were on deployment around the Mediterranean, so all of mostly Southern Europe, North Africa, and any place pretty much touchable in that area, we were on standby to go wherever needed to be.
Wow. And while you were in Afghanistan, did you see any action, or did you run into any?
Yes.
Yeah, you did?
Yes, we did. We did a lot of long-range reconnaissance patrols and such.
And that, as Larry Hama used to call it, those are LRRPs.
Well, that's the Army version, but yeah, same thing.
Okay.
It's the same thing.
Because that's the to bring it around to G.I. Joe. That's the unit that Snake Eyes was on, right? They were an LRRP unit, right?
Yep. Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Stalker. They were all in the same unit.
So would you have been? Would you consider yourself Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Stalker, or Wade Collins?
I guess I'd go with Stalker.
Yeah, I like that.
Kind of a Stalker meets Lifeline.
I like that.
A non-pacifist Lifeline, though.
Okay, well that's important.
Yeah.
So you said that the training for the specific unit that you moved into was really grueling. What was that? What did that entail?
Anywhere from 8 to 10 mile full uniform pack runs where you've got a 50-pound backpack on. You've got to do that in so much time. Land navigation. Shooting, you have to have excellent marksmanship skills. There's intelligence tests and all sorts of battery of tests like that. It's essentially a longer drawn out like Hell Week, like the SEALs would have.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's over a month and a half.
That's wow. That's crazy. And so when did you get out of the service?
2005.
2005, and then you rolled right into the VA work.
Well, I jumped right into nursing school and used the GI Bill and got right into nursing.
That's great, man. That's a great story. And you're married?
I am now married. Yep.
Oh, congratulations! And you said you have children.
I do. I have a 12-year-old little girl.
Awesome. Is she into GI Joe? I say with a question mark.
Yes.
What?
I'm finding she was all about it earlier in life, but now she's starting to get that teenage tween, like, daddy, that's not really as cool.
Well, true. I mean, I think even that's when that's when we started getting away from it a little bit. You know, well, you know what I mean. Like, there's a point where you start figuring out stuff. You still love it, but you know.
Exactly.
So growing up, did G.I. Joe influence your? Because you went in '99, so that was
correct.
Obviously pre 9/11, which is 9/11 was a big impetus for people to join up. So you joined up before that though. So was G.I. Joe an influence in you wanting to devote yourself to the military?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. I told Larry Hama that last year at the Granite State Con in New Hampshire.
That's awesome.
I told him, I said between your comics, the toys, that's what inspired me to do it.
Holy cow, that's great. And what was his reaction?
Well, he's kind of the Vietnam guy. He's at a different.
A little more skeptical about
it. Yeah, and that's understandable that he was, but sure. He was pleased.
Yeah. So it sounds like you grew up reading everything, like the comics and watching the cartoon and the toys.
I missed the comics.
Oh, you did? Okay.
But the toys, oh my God, the toys. We didn't have many, but the ones we had miles and miles of play on them. And of course, we would take the toys and they'd go outside, or we'd watch an episode and reenact it out in the woods. My brother and the neighborhood kids and I. Oh yeah, definitely the toys.
I love it. So you're saying we? So did you have like an older brother, younger brother?
I have a younger brother who's 4 years younger, so he was all about it too. So.
Oh, that's really cool. What was your collection all about? Like, what stories did you have? You who's your favorite guy?
Oh, in the comics, I always say Beachhead because comics or the TV show, he's still the go-to guy.
He's pretty awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, he's Army. It's not his fault, I guess, but whatever.
So what was your toy collection like? Like, what vehicles did you have, or what figures did you run into the ground? And do you still have them?
I have half of a dial tone. That's it. The upper half of a dial tone.
The upper half. Okay.
Yeah. I guess he was excavated from the mud in the backyard. My dad found him a couple months ago. That's all I have in my original collection.
That's hilarious.
But I had the APC, the Tomahawk. Oh my goodness.
The APC, which is now just a coffin for Dial Tone's legs.
Oh no, yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely.
They're probably buried somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely somewhere there still. But APC, Tomahawk, the Rolling Thunder, Mobile Command Center, the General. Oh my gosh, the list goes on and on and on. Armadillo. Yeah, quite a few vehicles. I wasn't lucky enough to get the big stuff like the Terradrome and the Defiant and stuff like that, but we still had, can't complain.
That's great. And so all of these are just lost to the woods.
Yes, sadly. I tried to assemble my General, and it was a lost cause. Totally a lost cause.
So I think that's when you grow up with like a sibling to play with, it takes you outdoors. When you grow up, like I did with, I have two older sisters, but they weren't into it. So I was just playing alone in my room. I was able to just contain all the toys to my room. They never went outside.
Oh, yeah. It was always forbidden to take them out in the snow. So we had to wait for good weather.
Oh, yeah. There was one thing I did used to do, which I haven't thought about this. I lived on I have the second floor bedroom, and I used to throw my parachutes out the window constantly. I would spend days just dropping them out the window, running downstairs, getting them, dropping them out the window, running downstairs and getting them, dropping them out the window. Both the parachutes that were from the Sky Striker, and then do you remember I think it was a mail away pack, the actual parachute
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I just constantly throwing them and trying to get it so the dog doesn't eat them before I came downstairs to grab them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was always fun. And then I would leave Zartan in the window to change.
Oh yeah, he do all sorts of cool changing. Yeah.
Yeah. He just Zartan and his siblings just like kind of lived in my windowsill, so they would just always change color for whenever they're ready to be needed in the storyline.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, Will, we can find you on Twitter, which is where we met, at Mountain Nut, MTNNUT, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. And on Instagram, you are at Will Bell.
Yes.
Do you do like G.I. Joe style posts or?
Oh, I love the posts. There's, oh my gosh, so many creative people that do 3 3/4 posts that have, nice DSLR cameras and stuff, and they just look beautiful.
Yeah, totally, man. Like I didn't know that before I got into doing this pod. There's so many good looking, like really, really creative people out there doing fantastic work with the Joes and posing them in fun places.
Yes.
If you're out there on social media and you want to follow me, you can find me at Joe and Joe Pod, and that's on Instagram, and that's on Twitter, Facebook, Joe and Joe Pod, and you can also send me an email to joeandjoepod@gmail.com and let me know if you want to be a guest. If you're out there and you love G.I. Joe and you want to talk G.I. Joe and go through an episode, just like Will Bell here, we'll get you on the show, and I'd love to have you on there. So, Will.
Yes.
Without further ado, I think we're going to get into today's episode, which is called Flint's Vacation.
Roger that.
Do you remember this? Like, do you remember this one growing up?
I do.
It was fun. It's Flint basically goes into the Stepford Wives town.
You thought that too, huh?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And he takes a little vacation, and everyone's being mind controlled by Cobra. It's a fun. It's focused on Flint, which is Bill Ratner, and we love Bill Ratner.
Yes, we do.
And it's one of those episodes that shows the like normal, not. I don't mean to say normal because like the military is not normal, but like the civilian side. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It shows the civilian side of the Joes. And that's always fascinating to me because they would, it's a show about military and all stuff, but they take the time to go, oh no, these are real people with real families. And let's show what that's all about.
Exactly.
Awesome. So without further ado, Will Bell, let's watch Flint's Vacation. Sweet. So we've got the opening. I always like to ask people who really love the show, what does this opening mean to you?
Oh man, this was like the fruits of my labors of running home after school to get home to watch this at 3:30 because it was on, and by God, I was going to be there to watch it.
Yes. Was it on GN by you, the WGN Channel 9?
Geez, it's been so many years. I don't even know.
Because that was the like the super station, one of the stations that went all across the country. And
yes.
So I watched it on GN. It's kind of like I'm from Chicago, but the Cubs were on all over the country, so there's a ton of Cub fans all over the country. And G.I. Joe ran on WGN, and I always wonder if that's the same station everyone was watching it on. But you're right, running home from school to catch it.
Oh yeah. And then speaking of running, I would be, we were doing the indoctrination process for Force Recon. That song played through my head mile after mile as I was running. Oh yeah.
So we've got Flint's Vacation, written by Beth Bornstein, which I don't recall seeing that name on a previous episode, so I'm excited for that. We got a new writer.
Yeah.
And we open with a very drowsy, sleepy woman.
Too much Bailey's in her coffee.
She's about to run that man over. She was backing out of like just kind of a nondescript suburban locale. We didn't really understand where that was. But now back at the pit, that was a weird close-up on Footloose, by the way, real quick.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. That was almost like to say, like, I wish I were in a relationship.
Yeah.
Lady J is sending Flint off. He's going to visit his cousin.
Okay, I got a question. Who wears their beret on leave or vacation?
Listen, I think the answer is, that's a very good question, but I think the answer is if you can pull off a beret, period,
that's
never
true.
take it off.
Yeah, I look like a very flamboyant pastry chef the one time I wore one.
Yeah,
so,
is that a part of any of your uniforms?
No. I always had the Cracker Jack hat, the white dog bowl hat.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I wore.
So Flint shows up at his cousin Ted's house.
Call first.
Yeah.
And I love that he calls out that next time he'll call first. So because his cousin is very nonplussed. He's like, "Hey, Flint, come on in." You know, they're all zombies basically. They're all watching TV. This definitely shows the danger of not calling ahead.
Yeah, you don't want to interrupt anything.
And it's so presumptuous of Flint, frankly, to say
it's a family thing, you know.
It is, but I'm going to spend the week with my cousin, but I haven't called him.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not popping in.
They're clearly not doing anything.
Yeah. It's not popping in to say hi for the night. Like, that's fine. I've surprised family. We all do that. But hey, Lady J, I'm leaving for a week. I'm leaving for a week, and I'm not going to call my cousin. You know, like, that's a little something.
Exactly.
So we've got Lady J on the phone, kind of updating Flint. And there's a weird. I like this choice though in the animation where they really shade, like they throw a lot of extra shadow in the room.
Mm-hmm.
It almost makes it hard to see the animation, but just to make sure we know it's late at night. You know,
like we didn't know that.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we're in a weird dreamscape kind of thing, and Flint's there's snakes coming out of the ground. It's obvious there's some kind of nightmare thing. So Flint must be having a nightmare, I think.
Yep.
You know what that looks like, though? Did you were you an Atari 2600 fan? Like, did you have that growing up?
Yes, I did.
You remember the G.I. Joe game, the 2600 game?
How could we forget?
That's what sort of what we're looking at here. There was the giant snake overhead, and then Flint running back and forth. Because remember, the snake would drop bombs on you, and you would have your job was to get the G.I. Joe soldiers across the field.
Yep.
It's a little bit like that dream right there.
Yeah. Oh, hey, he finally took the beret off.
Oh, my goodness. To be honest, there's not many times we've seen him just with his hair.
That's true.
And he's surprisingly not like male pattern baldness going on, because I figured that's why he kept the beret on. Oh, but the beret's back, though. Come on. I mean. Oh, yeah. Well, no. Well, it's an important distinction, though, that you're making there, because the beret is important to identify him as a character.
True.
And that's really important. It's something that I think a lot of, I'm a big comic book guy, and a lot of comic book and some cartoons, they forget that as we get into this modern age of like trying to make everyone seem a little more normal and not superhero-y or not, flashy or whatever.
Exactly.
You need a visual something to remind people who that character is. Like, it's just like a visual shorthand in the back of your head to go, oh yeah, that's Flint.
So Joe, my question is, did Vipers and Stormtroopers go to the same range to practice?
I think
seriously.
I think they did. I think somehow they're all Jango Fett clones still.
Ooh, yeah, something.
Well,
so Flint goes to the local sheriff,
a terrorist group called Cobra has kidnapped
and
your townspeople.
he's gonna tell the sheriff that Cobra's kidnapped all the townsfolk. Except the sheriff's deputies look kind of familiar. Would you say?
They do look vaguely familiar to me. Vaguely.
Yeah. They have shockingly out of place. It's Zartan. Shockingly out of place accents.
Man.
Zartan
never saw that coming.
By the way, Zartan's never looked more ripped than that moment right there.
I know, HGH.
Yeah, he it looked like he was wearing a fat suit, but then he rips it off, and it's just all muscle.
Jeez.
This is fun. We get a little car chase.
Yeah, hey, it's all good, man.
Flint's got a sweet car. Do you know anything about cars? Is that a Corvette? I don't know anything about cars.
I couldn't tell you what that thing. It looks like a cross between maybe like a early Jaguar, maybe a Corvette. I don't know. It's pretty mutt looking.
I will say I love that that's the car Flint drives, because it's kind of I mean it's hot roddy, but it's kind of feminine.
Well, it's true.
You know what I mean? Like, but like in a cool way, in like a way of like Flint don't give a crap. Like
exactly.
He's so secure in who he is. Like he doesn't need to drive like a big old muscle car. He can just drive like a fun Corvette, like with the top down.
Plus, he probably paid for it in cash because he's been deployed so long. He's got all sorts of money he can't spend.
Did would he get? Do you get like hazard pay if you're always in the thick? Is there like extra bumps if you get like deployed? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, definitely. If you're in a combat zone, what they deem a combat zone or a high risk zone, there's a pay incentives as well as it's tax free.
Oh, so are you saying that all the Joes are millionaires because all they do is get?
Well, I wouldn't say millionaires, but you know what? They've got a pretty good chunk of money, and they don't really go and spend it because they're always deployed.
Yeah. When and all their meals, like, so when you're in the oh wow, this animation's great.
Yeah, James Dean over here.
This is great, actually. So Flint got in a fight with a Fang. We're going to the commercial, and his car is on fire, and he goes off a cliff. Today's Filecard Feature is on the G.I. Joe Ranger, codename Beachhead. His file name is Wayne R. Sneeden, and his primary military specialty is the infantry, with his secondary military specialty being the small arms armorer, and his birthplace is Auburn, Alabama. He's a grade E6. Beachhead was a lane instructor at the Ranger School in Fort Benning and an observer advisor at the Covert Ops School in Central America. He's meticulous, patient, and strong-willed. He likes getting up at 0500 hours to take a 10-mile run and PT session before breakfast. He enjoys squatting motionless beside a jungle trail for 3 days straight, waiting to ambush bad guys that might never show up. But what he hates is people who aren't interested in doing their best. He's a qualified expert in all NATO and Warsaw Pact small arms. Most people will get mad on occasion or at least get irritable. Not Beachhead. He thinks anger is a waste of time and energy. Rage clouds the vision and pollutes logic. Fury impairs judgment and makes you careless. The results of anger are totally unacceptable to Beachhead. He doesn't get angry, he gets even. That quote makes him sound a little bit like Yoda, which makes sense because Beachhead covers his face entirely with a green face mask. You rarely see his face. I think it was only years later that they ever showed what Beachhead actually looked like outside of his green ski mask that covered everything except his eyes. Beachhead was awesome. He's exactly portrayed like he is on his file card, that no nonsense, we got to get the job done, I'm here for business, I'm not here for screwing around kind of guy. I like that he was another ranger whenever they started introducing other people to do the specialties. In this case, like Stalker was a ranger. It gave a nice sense of growth to the G.I. Joe team. So I love Beachhead, and I know Will Bell loves Beachhead. And so Wayne R. Sneeden, we salute you.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
And we're back. What were you just saying?
That gravity stuff kills me every time.
Totally. It's another gravity break. That was animation, though, was on point. I liked it a lot.
It was.
The car was flaming on fire. Flint saves himself by finding a one branch, the one branch that's sticking out. Yeah. But you were saying about, so we were talking about like hazard, I guess call it hazard pay or battle pay.
Hazard pay. Yep.
Yeah, and so when you're in the military, I mean, all your meals are taken care of, right? I mean, you could always. Is that how it works, or like I really have no experience?
Oh, sure. Well, like if you live in the barracks, you don't live what they call out in town. You don't have an apartment out someplace. Everything's free. Your food's free. You go to the chow hall 2 or 3 times a day. That's free, 100%. But if you live out what they call out in town, or you're a brown bagger, if you come onto the base to eat, you pay a very minimal fee to eat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not too busy for this. I have a new recruit.
Major Blood handles recruiting.
Why do they charge more? Even though
because you get what they call, if you live out in town, you get what they call, well, the Navy and the Marine Corps calls them comrats or commuter rations. So you'll get an extra stipend every paycheck to help you pay for groceries.
Oh, okay.
In your paycheck.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Were you ever like a commuter like that, or did you always live on base, or? And pardon me if I'm getting like the terminology insultingly wrong.
No. I was married for a short time, and I was living out in town for a while, but I was usually deployed too much to be home.
Yeah.
Let alone, I mean, even around a chow hall in the United States.
Yeah. So when you're deployed, do the chow halls, do they just always have, are they always cooking? Could you go in there any time of day and get food, or were there certain hours, or?
It depends on where you were. Like when you were on ship, there were 4 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, mid-rats or midnight rations. So if you worked overnight, you could still eat. But I mean, I was with the Marines, so all we did was work out, eat, and smoke cigarettes until they let us off the ship and let us go do what we had to do.
Real quick, so Flint's been captured by Cobra. And he sees that there's Major Blood, and I can see now that his arm is robotic. This is a new discovery for me a couple episodes ago. I never knew that Major Blood's arm was robotic. But
you just told me that the other day.
Yeah.
I just heard that on one of the issues.
Yeah, so you never knew it either, right?
No. I know he's an awful poet.
Oh, he's a terrible poet. But in that shot, it's so clear that it's I never got that.
Yeah.
So now Cobra Commander, of course, has got to send a big message to the world about his plan because, of course, it's Cobra Commander. He never he doesn't let anything. Do you
think they had like a weekly thing back in the day, like 9 o'clock to 9:30 on Channel 5 is the Cobra Commander like
his
evil plot of the week?
Yeah, like his Saturday morning radio address. Yeah, like
exactly.
our president does. Yeah. All right, I guarantee he does. Absolutely.
Definitely.
And they so he's basically bragging to the Joes of what his missile is going to do. And he's using the all the zombified town people to like build the weaponry to do that. That's what they're up to. There's a lot of Joes watching this. I think there was like airtight breaker, and they see Flint in the background of the video.
There he goes.
Which is going to give him It's going to give his footloose breaker. It's going to give them a clue as to like where to find him. But again, I love that Footloose
I've
is
got a
such
feeling that the underwater
stoner.
city is near
And
Pleasant
I
Cove.
never caught that when I was a kid.
No.
This is it.
He's always like, Footloose is
Breaker,
always
will
like,
you stop
send
popping
me
your
to the
gum?
South
They'll
American
hear you.
missions, man.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So the Joes just parachuted into town. They're gonna try to suss it out because they know that's where Flint went. So they figure they can get a good clue there. So back to life. So you said you were on it. What kind of ship were you on?
I was on, for most of it, the USS Saipan. It was a what they call a Gator freighter, or essentially a smaller aircraft carrier.
Okay.
It was flat top like an aircraft carrier. It did helicopters, lots and lots of helicopters. 'Cause that's how the Marines primarily get ashore.
Mm-hmm.
And it also had Harriers. The VTOL Harrier was also on there. So, and we were just part of the Marines that were on, way below decks, that kept us like down there with the redheaded stepchildren. They kept us contained.
Did you ever take a flight in a VTOL?
Absolutely not.
Oh.
No, I couldn't get anywhere near that thing.
Really? So they were you're very strict. You kind of like, hey, can you get over?
Okay.
Yeah, no.
And so, but you saw them lift off, right? Because I asked because the Rattlers are VTOLs.
Yep. Definitely.
Is it awesome? Because it seems like it would be awesome.
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty loud too.
Yeah.
It's pretty loud.
And how fast do they ascend or descend? Like how fast is the takeoff? Like, is it I picture a helicopter and it's not super quick, but it's it just takes a little while to get warmed up. Then lift. I've been on a helicopter once, and you're just kind of a little slow. Is an aircraft like that, or is it like boom, you're up?
The Harriers are a little faster than that.
Yeah.
It's a little faster than a helicopter, but it takes a second to get moving.
And the Harrier is that just has the turbines built into the wing, right? It doesn't tilt.
It has the nozzles that are built into the main fuselage because the engine's in the main fuselage.
Oh,
so it has not directional nozzles.
Oh, okay. And then it has an afterburner on the back that propels it forward once you get up in the air. Right?
No, that's what the nozzles do.
Oh, that is what the nozzles do. Okay.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we've got the G.I. Joes about to get hit by homing torpedoes that were launched by the Dreadnoughts. So we're going to go in a break and be right back.
Cobra's gotten through our front lines.
Destro's leading them.
Is there no stopping that man?
G.I. Joe can do it. G.I. Joe against Cobra and Destro, fighting to save the day. He never gives up. He's always there, fighting for freedom over land and air. G.I. Joe.
legend of G.I. Joe continues in Marvel Comics.
Now, back to G.I. Joe.
And again, Will, thank you and any other veterans out there who are listening who are finally asking the stupidest, most insulting question. Oh, that was great!
Oh, man, I love that. Look at that.
That was great! The hovercraft just like
Those are
hit
moves right
afterburner on the hovering part of the hovercraft, and
that's
they
not looking
literally jumped the shark that were the torpedoes. That's amazing.
Okay, did anybody think about the physics of that? Polly's sitting right by those two big turbines, and Polly doesn't get pulled into the big turbines.
You're right.
Just saying.
It's a good point. But then there's some great explosions here. The whale got hit by a Cobra water moccasin, and then the water moccasin got hit by the Cobra sub that was chasing. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So the Baroness and Major Blood are in the drink. And it turns out Lady J commandeered the Cobra sub.
Now, is the killer whale on fire too? Yeah.
Oh,
Notice how they were all very calmly sitting on a flaming killer whale,
Yes.
like, oh, hey, whatever.
Yes.
You know.
Did you guys have deal with hovercrafts at all?
Big ones, LCAC. They're called Landing Cushion Air something. They are giant hovercrafts, and they can move troops. They can move a tank. They can move quite a bit of things.
So it's similar to the killer whale. Like, I mean, not in design, maybe not in design, but like, because the killer whale, I feel like relative size wise is pretty big for the shows.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But thinking about looking at the size it's portrayed, the killer whale is probably half the size of a current LCAC.
Oh, okay, wow,
So,
that's great.
They're huge.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So Cobra Commander is using the hypnotism to tell all the townspeople to fight against.
Are they
the
going to a
Joes.
Trump rally? I'm just saying.
I just
saying.
I'm just saying. Well, you know what? It's funny. Earlier we talked about if Cobra Commander was going to do a Saturday morning radio address. That might be the next speech that Trump steals.
Ooh.
Just saying.
Could be.
It could be. Polly's getting in the mix.
Polly is dirty.
I love Polly. Oh, man. Look at Deep Six fighting like in his Deep Six outfit.
Yeah.
Like that can't be.
Because you could move all sorts of ways in that outfit. Yeah.
Sure, it's designed for being weightless underwater, but of course outside tripwires there getting choked to death by Flint. That's exciting.
Well, it's the most action Tripwire's had in a long time.
I know, but I do want to see Tripwire actually trip.
I know, right?
Like,
Come on
as
now.
he's running away. You know what's funny? There was this week's issue of G.I. Joe, or last month's issue of G.I. Joe, they used Tripwire, and Larry Hama wrote in a joke about someone saying to him, like, don't stumble, like, because he's supposed to be clumsy. Like, it was a subtle, quick one-liner of they had to be careful, and someone like, now's not the time to stumble, Tripwire, which I really appreciated. So
Nice.
Flint is menacing Lady J under orders by Cobra Commander. And we got to see if Lady J, her love for her man can win him back.
Love conquers all.
It really does,
Except
man.
decompression. Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, so here's a question. So so you probably worked alongside a fair number of women and all that in the military, correct?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, they were scattered, but yeah, I did work with some.
Were there and you don't have to go into any personal details, but were there romances like Flint and Jay? Like, did you know people who would hook up like that? Was that allowed? Was that forbidden or what?
Depends.
I order you to open that door.
One person could be. You could be the same rank, no problem, or one rank above or one rank below, and then after that you could get into trouble.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. Now, there were romances on the ship while people were being deployed, but, that's a totally different thing.
Well, we're not looking to air anyone's dirty laundry. I was just wondering about, because I was wondering, if the Joes could get in trouble, for the Flint J relationship or even the Duke Scarlet relationship, because Duke, although Duke's
the first sergeant, he could get in some trouble, and I think Flint could too.
Yeah,
so
Flint was a warrant officer. Where does that rank?
It's like you've got your enlisteds, the E1 through E9, which are your enlisteds. Then you have your officers, which starts with O1 to 9. Warrant officers and chief warrant officers are kind of in between. They're officers, but they don't have a full commission. They're very rare. They're very, very rare to see because all armed services want at least a 4-year degree for their officers. So it's kind of a non-4-year degree program, or someone who's been in a long, long time and has a great specialty, and they give them the warrant officer title.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really a gray area. Think upper middle management, maybe.
Got it. So we just learned that Tripwire did his job right, and he rerouted the targeting system for the missiles. So the missiles
We expect nothing less.
Yeah, I love it. And by the way, I love that there's so many Cobras involved in this episode. It was Destro, Major Blood, Zartan, Baroness, and Cobra Commander. Like, that's great. Usually, like there's a focus on like 1 or 2 of them.
Of course.
But they had good roles for all. I like this episode. You mentioned the E stuff, and when I do my Filecard features, I read what their grade is, but I actually have no understanding of that. So that means enlisted, and you said it's 1 through 9.
Correct.
And what's highest rank is 1 or 9? 9. So as you progress in your career, you go from E1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 9.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And how do you get promoted? Just by general being a good dude, or like
every service is different. The Navy has you have to take tests, aptitude tests. Plus, you have to have good physical fitness scores. I mean, you can't just be like a couch potato. You have to run your physical fitness test in so much time, and your civil. Are you volunteering? Are you doing all sorts of different things? So the Navy takes kind of everything into account and has a test. So that's how you advance.
Oh, that's very cool, man. Well, I love this because we learned a bunch about the military. We exposed that I know nothing about the military, which I love.
Hey, that's all right. That's okay.
Yeah, and we had a great episode. So, what'd you think of the episode?
I loved it. It's a great one. It's very Stepford Wives meets going on leave and having a bad time on leave.
Mm-hmm. I do think the lesson is always call first before you spend a weekend. Although, wait a minute, if he had called first, they would have probably been like, "No, Flint, you can't come. We're very busy," and he might not have ever exposed this plot.
Thank God for poor planning.
Yeah, I think that's actually the lesson. I'm going to change my mind on that. I'm never going to tell anyone when I'm showing up, just because in case they're being controlled by Cobra.
Obviously.
Yeah. I think that's a good reason. Will, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks, Joe. It's been an honor.
Yeah, and I love what you do. Please keep doing what you're doing with the VA and all that stuff. I think that's such an important. It's so important. And
definitely.
So thank you for that. Thank you for your service. And
Thanks,
if you
Joe.
want to find you on Twitter, it's Mountain Nut, MTNNUT. Instagram, you're Will Bell. You want to find me? It's at Joe on Joe Pod. Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and send me an email, joeandjoepod@gmail.com. If you're on iTunes or wherever you're listening to it, Stitcher, however you get the podcast, if you want to leave me a review, that would be amazing. Help grow the show. We are growing every month. I'm happy to say, by the way, your episode is the first of year 2 for this show.
Oh, man.
We
awesome.
have crossed the year threshold. I'm really happy about that. And for the month of January, we've already crossed. We're recording this second, third week of January. We've already crossed my biggest download month of all time.
Congratulations.
We're growing. Thanks to you, and thanks to everyone out there who's listening. None of this happens without you. Thank you for spreading the word. And we're more than halfway through the whole show, and I can't wait to keep rolling. So once again, thank you, Will Bell, and out there, thank you for listening. And now you, Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.